Welcome, everyone, to episode 6 of the Motorsport Show. Phil Branagan.
I know.
Welcome.
Where have you been?
Do I look suntan?
Look how dark you are.
I've been to Pakistan.
Where have you been?
Pakistan.
Really? Oh, you haven't been to Pakistan.
Everybody's rocking and rolling down in Pakistan. No. In fact...
You've been away, though. You've been overseas.
I have been overseas, and we must thank everyone for tuning in last time, our biggest ever audience, and we did say at the end of the last show that we'd be back on July number 10. And in the meantime, I got to go to Sonoma in California for my first ever NASCAR race, which is was different, Phil.
Never been to a NASCAR race before?
In the United States, having hosted NASCAR on television here in Australia.
With some idiot?
Many years ago.
Part of the time?
I was a bit younger, a bit thinner, and...
we all were.
And had some talent, but no, got to go. And the great thing about going to the NASCAR races, got to catch up with a couple of people who are making their way in the NASCAR world after great careers in supercars. And, in fact, Danny Boy's going to chuck up a bit of a picture, the first image of the night. No, not that one. The work experience boys back, not that one. That one. And there's Bryce Seals on the left and James Small on the right. So Bryce I worked with at the Holden Racing team and Super Cheap Auto Racing at Walkinshaw Racing. And, of course, James Small, I got to work with him up at Paul Morris Motorsports. And they're doing great things. Bryce, in fact, is the shock absorber specialist at Ganassi, Chip Ganassi Racing, on the number 1 Monster Camaro for Kurt Busch. And James Small, as we've spoken about before in the past, is the engineer for Martin Truex Jr., the number 19 Bass Pro Shops Toyota Camry.
Some of the most talented graduates of Australian motor racing, and you.
Yeah, and I was there. So, but what an experience, and certainly NASCAR in the US. It's bigger than Texas, and but it's Sonoma. Now, I'd been to Sonoma before, back 20 years ago, when Peter and Helen Russo ran a Nitro Funny Car for the first time.
And for those people who don't follow NASCAR that closely, it's a road course.
It's a road course.
Yeah.
And which I said to you earlier, Phil, the thing that I'd forgotten about but really surprised me when I remembered and we were there was the undulation, because it's wine country, it's Napa Valley, but it's like going to Bathurst for the first time and you see the hills.
Yeah. And they're alive.
Yeah, mate, and it's quite incredible. And
I haven't been to Sonoma. In fact, I haven't been to a road course race in NASCAR. I've been to oval track races in NASCAR, and they're very entertaining. And you go to somewhere like Charlotte, North Carolina, and you go there for the 600, and it's just rocking and rolling. It is a fantastic experience. So even if you're not the biggest NASCAR fan in the world, folks, if you get the chance, go. It's fantastic. It's a great experience. I know the dollar's down against the US at the moment, but it's still worth it.
Yeah.
Airfares are cheap. If you went to the US, you and the missus, the airfares must have been cheap. A bit.
Right.
Maybe not. By the way, I was in Mornington. I was in Mornington last week, and it was great. It's fantastic. There's no NASCAR racing there. No
NASCAR racing. David Driscoll, first one on the line. Great to have you guys back. Thanks very much, David. It's good to be back. And Frankie Palermo. Hi, Frankie. I'll get out for a run one day. This guy warms up with half marathons.
Does he? Mafia? Is he Mafia?
He's terrific.
Oh, good.
Terrific runner.
Did you see anybody else while you're in America?
Well, we went to Las Vegas, and course, yes, Michelle, my wife, came with me on this trip, so she enjoyed the NASCARs as well. And we'll talk about the reports on what went on later on when we give the highlights of the last couple of weeks of racing.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, there is the connection. My wife's last name, very famous in motorsport.
McDornan.
No. Her maiden name.
Alonso.
Close. Williams.
Oh, that's right. You married into Formula One royalty.
And here's another happy snap from the trip. Talking about
don't tell me you
Williams.
Sir Frank. No,
there's Robbie.
It's not Sir Frank Williams.
Had the pleasure of meeting Robbie on my wife Michelle's birthday.
Really? It was a family reunion for the Williams clan?
And he looked at me, and he looked at her, and he looked at me, and he said...
The same thing everybody else says.
Well, jeez,
why did you marry him?
He goes... Oh, I'm not shitting you. No. He said to me, "What? She's your wife?"
That's right.
The only reply I could say was, "We beat you at the cricket last night."
Yeah, well.
He said, "Oh, were we playing?" So
that's
he didn't
right.
even give a rat's about
You
that.
either know hypnosis, Gerald, or Michelle is suffering from Stockholm syndrome. That's one of the two. She must have been kidnapped because she's far too glorious a woman to be married to you.
Oh, yes.
I'd like to send a cheerio to my wife, by the way. Hi, Mark. How you going?
Yeah, and again, what? She's your wife?
Oh, yeah, a little bit of that. A lot of people say that. Paul Dover keeps mentioning that.
Good to have Tony Manson on board as
Tony.
well. Hey, Tony. Gerald looking nicely scrubbed up after his cleansing US trip. Yes.
Yeah, I had to hose him off earlier. He was covered in sawdust. Anybody else in America you caught up with?
Well.
Anyone?
And it was a motor racing trip because we went to Sonoma, went out to Las Vegas, went to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, of course, and was going to have a meeting.
Uh-huh.
When you talk Las Vegas and you talk supercars and you talk the upcoming Enduros?
Steve Wynn. No?
No, that's where I met, at the Wynn I met Robbie.
Right.
But when you talk about Enduros,
Tony D'Alberto.
Mustangs,
Right.
French,
Michael Caruso.
It was great to get on the phone and organise a meeting with Alex Prima.
Oh, Alex Prima.
And of course, Danny Boy, let's show...
What's that? What are they? Ants.
That's crickets.
They're ants.
They're crickets?
Are they? They sound like crickets. They look like ants.
You reckon that the French have been called to war because he was a non-shower?
Really?
Absolutely. Ben Nightingale, if you're watching, your driver failed to show up for a pre-organised meeting with one of the supreme media operators in supercars.
Yeah, though, hang on. In Alex's defence, he wouldn't be the first person to stand you up for dinner.
Well,
certainly better drivers than he have done that.
If I hadn't called enough people a pack of arseholes, I would have...
But you've got to say it in French. And there goes half of our viewership, though. We are big in Qatar. We are big in Qatar.
Le pack of arseholes.
No, none of that.
So anyway, Alex Prima stood me up. So
hi, Alex, if you're watching.
Let's
Gerald needs a bottle of red when you're out here for Bathurst.
I think we'll be calling for more parity adjustments on the Mustang.
And none of that French stuff.
Talk about parity adjustments. Anyway, before we get to that,
yeah.
So good to be back.
It is.
Thrilled with the reaction to our last show here on the Motorsport Show.
Very happy.
We clicked over 21,000 views. So each show has grown bit by bit, which we're thrilled about.
Yep.
And thank you very much for your support. This show is all about interacting with us as well. So while you're sitting there watching at home,
let us know what you think.
You can tell us what you think. You can type in some questions.
What's happening on the? What do you think should happen on the driver front so far as transfers are concerned next year? For next year, what do you think is going on the parity front? Is it fair or not? And what did you think of the recent races? And what's the cricket scores?
And we know State of Origin is on, so you're probably sitting at home watching us on the phone and the State of Origin on the TV.
Double screening.
For an hour and a half of bullshit leading up to the game.
No.
We'll just give you an hour of bullshit here.
Let's talk about news.
So thanks, everyone, for your support for that last show as well, and let's hope this one grows as well.
Your support? I'll wash it before I give it back. What's going on with in supercars with news?
So we're going to have plenty of news coming up tonight. Of course, the big things: Penske, Holden, and Red Bull have all re-signed various people and teams. We're going to talk about that in depth later on in the show after we talk about Townsville as well.
Yep. TCR news: a few driver signings going on just for this weekend. Just for this weekend. The big one, of course, the headline act. TCR this weekend at the Bend. Jordan Cox. Sorry, Russell Ingall. is going to be driving an Audi this weekend. We give Russell a bit of heat. Everybody gives Russell a bit of heat. He's got a terrific webcast show with him and the dude, and he's back in the cockpit. He's going to be driving an Audi this weekend. We'll be talking about that. And the other signing is, of course, the two Tanders are back in the other Audis, and Jordan Cox driving one of the Hondas. So there's plenty to look forward to this weekend.
I think watch out for Garth because, first time in a front-wheel drive car at Phillip Island.
Yeah.
Got biffed and barged around a little bit.
Yep.
But was fast as well while learning the cars I hadn't driven before he got there. And I think Garth Tanner will be the one to watch this weekend.
But there was a bit of biff at Phillip Island between him and Leanne. And unfortunately, which wasn't their fault. We're not saying either of them are at fault. They just got caught up in a carambolage. And, let's see what's happens at the bend. What else? By the way...
Yeah, go on.
What did you have any commercial opportunities? I know one of the reasons you were going to the States
was for work.
To seek commercial opportunities for the Motorsport show.
What about the tiny field of GTs for this weekend at the Bend, says David Driscoll?
How many cars? Dave, let us know how many cars. I haven't looked at the end.
Haven't actually looked at that, but Garth, of course...
Doubles up.
He's doubling up with
Performance Centre in
Jeff
the
Emery. The trip to America was commercial.
Yeah, okay. Did you kick any goals?
Well, after Jensen, Chrysler, Jeep, and Dodge signed on to be our first advertiser on the last episode.
Oh,
with that,
I know what you're going to say. You got Roger Penske
with the Chevy.
You got Penske on board.
Not
bigger,
not quite Roger.
Right.
But I'm pleased that after great meetings with Rudy at TDM.
Oh, who?
Here is our second advertiser on the Motorsport. How good.
Wow. I'm staggered. And if for all your used cars and
gynecology,
needs, tell me his slogan is "I'll sharpen my pencil." Well, we don't want that to be the one.
You talk about personalised service. There's no more personalised service at a car yard than having a gynecologist.
Well, anyway, next time you're in that part of the world in North Carolina and you're looking for a used car or some healthcare advice,
TDM car sales.
You know where to go, the land of opportunity. Anyway, oh, God. Hang on. Wait a minute. I'm just going to adjust something back here. Okay, thank you, Rudy. What else is going on in America, please? Something. So I've got to rinse that out of my memory now.
Well, we do have to. There's been 3 NASCAR races. Let's. We'll talk about Sonoma briefly and give some highlights in a moment, and we'll skip across Chicago, and then we'll talk about Daytona. But the big thing about Sonoma was that Darrell Waltrip, it was the last race of the first half of the season gone, which means it's the end of Fox Sports coverage, and it switches over to NBC Sports.
Yep, Lee Diffie.
Not on NASCAR though.
Yeah, I think he's in a couple of races.
A couple of races, yeah. But it was Darrell Waltrip's last race. His first race as a commentator was the 2001 Daytona 500, where his great friend, his brother, Michael Waltrip, won the race, but his great friend, Dale Earnhardt, was killed.
In a crash on the last lap.
But this week at Sonoma, the other week at Sonoma, was his last race, and the highlight that we like to see from Darrell Waltrip.
Well, I would call that Calamity Corner because it usually is. But, Mike, I've been out here since Thursday. I've done everything in the world. I got a new car to drive. I've been given trophies. People have given me hugs and kisses. But this is what I wanted. It's what I've been waiting for these cars to come off of this corner. And, guys,
let's go racing today, boys. Boogity, boogity, boogity.
End of an era. He's a wheel man. He's a wheel man, I can tell.
He's a terrific guy. We had the
a few years ago.
Pleasure of meeting him at Bathurst a few years ago, and he and Mike Joy came out and commentated the race for Speed TV.
Yep.
They were terrific. So very sad to see DW put it away and retire. He's on to the next chapter of his life, but what a career in NASCAR as a champion, 3-time champion, a Daytona 500 winner. And then a fabulous career behind the microphone, nearly 2 decades, and he will be missed.
He will. Good luck, mate.
Now, let's jump into the Sonoma highlights, and as we said, it is a road course, and let's pop up with the highlights, Danny boy. We'll skip it pretty quickly. Good crowd on hand at Sonoma. They get people in and out of there pretty quickly. No, I'm up up the other end of the racetrack. This is down on the flat near where the drag strip is, but good close racing. There's Kurt Busch. He got a knock early on. He actually looked pretty competitive. Can I say, the first stage, Phil, I was actually wanted to go home, but the 24-car William Byron came along and took his first stage win. Then Denny Hamlin in the number 11 FedEx Camry. He got the next stage win. Had a good chat to his car chief the day before in the garage during qualifying. I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Yep.
But then it was the number 19 and the 18, two of the Joe Gibbs Racing Toyotas that were going at it. Truex pitted early. Bush later on, he was chasing him down. People in the grandstands are saying he's going to catch him, and Kyle Busch is going to take the win. And I said to the bloke behind me, I said, no, mate, with about 25 laps to go, 30 laps to go, I said, no, mate, Martin Truex Jr. is going to win this because he's just maintaining the lead.
Yep.
And he was letting Kyle Busch use up everything that he had.
And Kyle Busch is a noted road racer. He's one of these guys that people always look to as having good form on the road courses and when the NASCAR trail hits there. And Truex a little bit less so. So that was a real breakthrough for Truex. He really made it, drew a line in the sand, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he's won there before, but I mean, he really, he brought Bush along. He was, come on, get me, and he made him use up the car, and he was very comfortable winning in the end. So a great win, and for your first NASCAR race on the morning of the race, James Small was showing me through the trailer of the 19 and met a lot of the team guys there and up into the crew chief area and the box, and the same with Kurt Busch's team with Bryce.
Yeah,
really good stuff, and Kurt ended up falling back a bit during the day, but great results anyway.
Yeah, fantastic. It's a fantastic scene. What happened the following week?
Now, the following week they went to Chicagoland, and, they're in, they're out, they're gone. And they're three-quarters of the way back over the other side of the United States. The truck's gone, it's quite amazing what they do. When I said I had a chat to the car chief of Denny Hamlin's car during qualifying, I said, how long do these cars last? Because when we raced at Texas back in 2013 with the supercars, we had some people there from a Chevy team that said, currently we use our cars for about 5 race meetings. We're going to bring it back to about 3 race meetings. I mean, they're that close.
So that's like a dozen cars a year.
Right.
36 race schedule.
So the car chief of the Denny Hamlin said, how long do your cars last? And 1.7 races average.
Wow.
So it allows for accidents and things like that. But all of the tweaking and everything, 1.7 races. So you figure you got 4 cars, 36, 38 races during the year.
Yeah.
You figure out how many cars you're building during the year.
That's amazing.
It really is. So the next week they went to Chicagoland, of course, which is a super speedway. And Alex Bowman won the following week. We didn't bother with the highlights of this, just because we wanted to get through this a lot of things.
So, yep.
But just a second win for Chevrolet for the year. His first win in the 88. Yep. And the thing about that, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. Yeah. Well, for him it was win on Sunday, buy on Monday. He went and bought himself a Chevy Camaro.
Oh, really?
Off Jeff Gordon Chevrolet the next day.
Did some guy in a funny wig take him for a test ride?
No, but I'm sure if he had gone to TDM Auto Sales, he might have got more personalised service.
He might. Strapping on the glove, folks. Next, Daytona Motor Speedway.
Well, if there is the great venue, it's Daytona. It's the mid-year race, so it's the 400. And Matt Coenders has actually said Daytona 400 was awesome to watch. Too bad about the rain. That was the big thing. The race was postponed from the Saturday night to the Sunday afternoon. It was a competitive race. Let's roll the highlights, Danny Boy. And it really got down to this. With not many laps to go, what do you have at a super speedway? restrictor
one.
plate. It's a big one. 17 cars. And it took out a huge number of the field. Just have a look at the damage there.
1.7 races per chassis. Now it makes sense.
Yeah. And look at that damage. A lot of expensive cars there. There's the 17, the fifth third bank car, the Napa Batteries car. Who's that? Chase Elliott, isn't it? Of course. But a lot of damage. Everyone sort of got out okay. We'll have another look at another view at this. Oh, no, this is now. So they've said 1 lap to go behind the pace car. Kurt Busch is in the lead. They've gone 1 lap to go, lights out. We're going to go racing again. So the leaders have all ducked into the pits here, Phil. Yeah. They've gone, let's get tyres. We're going to have new tyres to the finish. And all of a sudden, the number 77 with Justin Haley sitting out the front, as the guys came out of the pits, lightning happened. Justin Haley's leading, lightning. Yep. So they've brought the cars back down pit lane and stopped them.
Lightning McQueen leading.
Now, they've stopped the cars in pit lane. Then, not long after this, there's more lightning. And in the United States, they're big on their lightning.
Yeah, I know. Ask Lee Trevino.
Yeah. So this
there
is where... There he is.
He's won the race.
Hey, Justin, we've got some news to tell you. You've just won your first NASCAR race.
At Daytona. Where else? Boy, what a place to take your first win.
And he said, hey, you did a great job. You up the front there all day, and he said, well, I did nothing.
That's right. I just sat here and smiled. And what did he do later? He's going to go to Disney World or Martin Clark's bar.
Oh, what?
His wine shop.
Yeah, Martin D. Clark.
Our friend Martin Clark from the Motorsport News. So
Justin Haley. Now, so that was Chevy's third Cup race win of the year.
Yep.
The surprise winner, Spire Motorsports. They do have a deal with Ganassis, I believe.
Yep.
Good
luck to them. Well, you take your wins any way you can get them.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no bad way to win a motor race. No one's going to say, you know what? Here's the trophy. Take it back.
Kurt Busch was understandably not happy.
I think you'll find Kurt Busch is understandably not happy most
of the time. But the thing with it was that once the lightning happens, I mean, I've been to events over there. I'm sure you have as well, where they say, "Hey, there's lightning," 3 miles away.
Yeah,
take cover.
Thunder, lightning.
Get out of the way.
Yeah. You know what you should do in case of lightning, folks? You grab a 1-iron, because not even God can hit a 1-iron. It's an old joke from golf.
That's a golf joke.
What's happening in the NHRA, Gerald? Tell us all what's going on in drag racing.
Well, here... What about this?
Where are we?
We're trucking through this, so please keep your comments coming, guys. We do like to hear from you,
and ladies.
When deciding to go to the NASCAR race at Sonoma, Philip.
Yeah.
I spoke with Richie Crampton. I said, listen, I might. I'm tossing up NASCAR or drags. I might come over to. I know you over the East Coast. I might come over to Epping, New Hampshire, which is Boston.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, okay, yeah, that'll be cool. And I looked up the airfares, and it was too much more money.
It's a long way.
Long way, another 7 hours of mucking around. And I said to my wife, Michelle, I haven't been to a NASCAR race over there before. Let's go NASCAR racing. So we're at the NASCAR, the day before the NASCAR race, and I look at my phone, and Richie and his wife and the 2 kids are packing the car up because they're driving to Norwalk, Ohio for that weekend's race, which is about 2,000 kilometres away from where I was going to fly us.
Epping.
For that weekend.
Right.
So that was lucky.
Now, I would ask you where you were in America when you figured this out, but I'm going to guess that you wouldn't have the faintest idea. You navigate a little bit like me.
I was in San Rafael. I text Richie and I said, why are you driving to Norwalk? Aren't you on an Epping? And he goes, no, that's in 2 weeks.
So it'd be like getting an airfare to Perth and they're at Queensland Raceway. You're an idiot. You really are an idiot. How did we go to all those races all those years ago? Anyway,
I didn't organise the travel. That's how.
Back to the plot, folks. What happened in Epping?
Epping, New Hampshire, where I would have been 2 weeks ago had I booked a ticket there. Just this past weekend. Let's roll the videotape, Danny boy. Thanks, mate. And Steve Torrance, his 8th final in a row, the reigning champion, up against Scott Palmer in Top Fuel, and all the way. 7 wins out of the last 8 races. And what a fantastic start to the season. In fact, he's already locked up his spot in the countdown. Those Capco boys. Then in funny car, Matt Hagan and Sean Langdon. Langdon for Kalita Motorsports. The global electronic technology Toyota Camry up against the factory Mopar of Hagan. Big crowd on hand at Epping. Nice racetrack. I did go there a couple of years ago. It was Matt Hagan. 3rd year in a row of 401 at 322 mile an hour. There's Don Schumacher. Hagan has converted his family farm recently from a, which he works in and posts quite a lot on Instagram about, from a beef and cattle farm into an industrial hemp farm.
Really?
Now, some people might say that's how Australian drag races have organised their budget for many years.
Yeah. Everybody knocks off for work at 4:20.
No, Hagan's family got a big car business and everything like that, but it's industrial hemp.
Industrial hemp. Industrial hemp.
Industrial. So
I'd like to send a cherry to some of Australia's tomato farmers.
And we should say now, so Torrance, Steve Torrance has raced in the last 8 final rounds. He's won 7. His father's also won 1 as well this year, so they've won 8 races.
Right.
And Torrance is also, it was his 26th national event win in the last 3 years, which has equalled Tony Schumacher.
That's amazing.
For a record in a 3-year period. So,
and the season's not over.
No, the season's only halfway over. Right. So he's going to be hard to stop. But the championship with the countdown, it changes it all.
Right.
So that's it in drag racing for this.
So let's go from possibly the loudest form of drag race of motorsport that there is to not so much. Let's go to Goodwood, because something very interesting happened on Goodwood over the course of the Festival of Speed. Danny, let's take
the NASCAR drivers chat, and now let's see what Romain Dumas can do. Remember that yesterday he did a 41.18. This is an official run, in as much as the clock is running. It's properly timed. 41.18, his best of the weekend. What can he do, Jack?
Through the first corner. This all-electric Volkswagen IDR kicks up the turn on the inside of the second turn, now onto the park straight and up towards Moulcombe. Every time I say it, you look out the window and he's arriving so fast, and by the time he's looked out to see where he is, he's 3 seconds up at the first intermediate.
He's going to go fastest. The question is, can he go quicker than yesterday? Can this car get into the 40s? That was his aim after yesterday. I think the answer is going to be yes. He's taken even more time out of Jeremy Smith's top time. 36, 37 on the clock. He's up to the timing line. Is he going to get it below 40? Yes, he is! A 39.90. The fastest ever time up the Goodwood.
A polite amount of applause from your palms.
Pretty stunning.
It is. It really is. And look, Volkswagen have done a fantastic job with this car. They've won Pikes Peak, and now they've set a hill climb record at Goodwood, and it's a massive event. It's a huge event for car companies, and Volkswagen have put a lot of investment into this. But let's not get too excited. Volkswagen has beaten them.
We know you like a but.
And I cannot lie. Volkswagen have broken the outright hill record that was set by Nick Heidfeld, with the greatest respect, not the best driver ever to race in Formula One. In a 20-year-old McLaren. So, yeah, okay, they've done a good job. And I know we're comparing apples with oranges, and the tyres are only designed to last a few minutes on the Volkswagen. It's only designed to run for 10 minutes, and it's early days, and it is a fantastic performance. I'm still a little bit on the fence so far as electric racing is concerned. I think it's important, but I don't think it's going to... It's early days, so we're going to see on an upward spiral. But 39.9 I think in 5 or 6 years' time, we won't be talking about that in such glowing terms.
I think Nick Heidfeld.
Yeah, he was
That was worse than me calling the supercars people assholes.
he's a good, solid Formula One driver, Nick Heidfeld.
Peter Bozzusto,
Not quite that. Well,
very good ordinary footballer.
How many races did Nick win? Fantastic career. All credit to him. I'm not criticising him, but okay, all right. He's been versatile and he's been in Formula E and all that sort of stuff. And I don't mean that as any sort of personal criticism, but some people are treating this like the second coming, and it ain't.
Formula E.
And Moto E on the weekend also. First race for them in the Saxon Ring in the two-wheel brigade, and that was significant. But again, 260 kilos, not enough horsepower. They'll get there.
For some reason, we're all going good there, Danny boy. We're still everything looking all right.
Okay, Melandri might be in Formula E next year. Moto E.
Yeah, stream's going okay.
Yeah.
Rob Oberg's joined in. Hey, Rob, State of Origin footy may outrate you blokes tonight. Yes, but it's having to listen to that biased bloody New South Wales commentary and, this is the toughest game that, these blokes will, and it's their lives on the line. And
oh, really? Is that what they say?
God.
I got to say, I got nothing to contribute to the conversation. I don't watch cross country wrestling.
It's the same crap every time.
Well,
Glenn Smith, is that industrial strength? Yes, mate. Yeah, so it's good to have people here. Matt Coender's, by the way, you guys, there are a few Aussies racing in sprint cars over in the States in World of Outlaws and other local tracks.
Good.
In preparation
send
for
us some
the
info.
Knoxville Nationals.
And by the way, and this is nothing to do with me. I used to be the editor of Auto Action, not anymore. There will be a preview in Auto Action, I'm sure, because the Auto Action is always very supportive of sprint cars. So have a look at tomorrow's issue.
The Knoxville Nationals.
What? There will be. And get online and sort it out. Support the Aussies in Knoxville.
Oh, absolutely. So Matt's telling us, the Ian Madston, Kerry Madsen, Brooke Tatnell, Jesse Attard, Brodie Tulloch, James McFadden, hopefully the real deal, Jamie Veal.
Yep.
He loves to hang around Indiana and Brownsburg there. Brooke Tatnell. So lots of people.
Yep.
David Driscoll thought we were going to go to Formula E when we went to
Goodwood.
We
could have gone to Robo Race. And speaking of things I don't understand, a car going up the hill by itself. Who do you interview afterwards? I don't know. I've been doing this 30 years. I don't know who to talk to. What's the point?
RoboCop.
What's the point?
I don't know.
Of having kiddies with remote control. I mean, the technology is fantastic, and I know we're going to be driving autonomous cars. What is the point?
Pretty much like Moto E that started the other night, and I sat there, I turned it on. Okay, let's go. The bike's left. There was no noise, except for a couple of zhuzhes.
I've been to your house. There's always noise.
And the zhuzhes, and that was it.
Yeah, but the racing was all right. Tully had to fight his way through to get to the end, get to the lead. And they're only 10-lap races, and that one was cut short after 6. Yeah, look, again, early days. Find it online. Tell us what you think.
Look,
you don't. By the way, you don't have to watch it. It's not a hostage situation.
No, and that's why I turned it off.
Good. There you go. What else is going on?
We're flying through stuff tonight, boys.
We are.
So, hey, everyone, if you want to get in on the discussions, please. Rodney Hume, hi guys, from the east coast of Tastia.
Where?
I think he means Tassie, the Rodney Hume.
It is Tastia down in Tassie.
Yeah, he's from St Helens in Tasmania. He's just the east coast of Tassie. 10 cars for GTs, including 2 GT4s. I just saw a bit of Lowry popping up. Why am I seeing old pictures popping up on the screen here?
Are you reminiscing already about the earlier parts of the show?
No, shit popping up that shouldn't be popping up. Anyway, but we've got to if we want to.
It's like people who fall down the stairs when they're staring at their iPhones.
Noise. Now, Mark Ware has. This is it. Noise is the main reason I like motorsports. No noise, no thanks. That's a good T-shirt, Mark. Good T-shirt. Let's do it for the next one.
Give me some noise.
Well, can you imagine the
motorsport
show without any noise because we go full E?
You and me.
We go full E.
Even when we're not broadcasting, we're making noise. Ask my wife. Ask your wife.
David Driscoll, Formula E and Moto E, motoring, racing on mute. Yes.
It is, but that's what's going to happen. 35 years of fuel left in Saudi Arabia.
Driving around California a bit in the last 2 weeks, a lot of Teslas.
Yep.
On the road, and where we stayed for the last day or two before we headed home at Redondo Beach, the hotel there had 7 or 8 Tesla battery charging stations where the people...
35,000 now, I think, across the States. Heath Walker will tell us. Heath, if you're watching, let us know.
But, you know, people drive in, they plug in, 15, 20 minutes, then they take off.
Yep. Tesla 3 goes on sale here next month, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know why they just don't make a Tesla e-station or something, you know, like a gas station.
Well, they pretty much do. I mean, we're not going to
it's in the car park.
We're not going to get into
hotel.
discussion between level 2 and level 3 charging and all that sort of stuff. And there's dedicated Tesla chargers, and there's other chargers, and there's fast chargers, and there's most people recharge their phones, and like they recharge their phones overnight. Yeah, we'll talk about that some other time. We're not a car show, we're a motor racing show. Not a lot of Teslas on the racetracks.
Unless they want to pay us.
That'd be great. I'd like that.
Supercars.
Commercial world. What happened to supercars? Townsville.
Well, let's
race 17 highlights.
Let's roll through the very quick highlights, if we can, please, Danny Boy. And Phil, take it away.
There was a good crowd in. It wasn't the biggest crowd we've ever seen, and there was a bit of a
nose has grown.
There was a bit of a change on the front row of the group because there's David Reynolds, who did such a good job in qualifying, and
bit of pit stop stuff going on.
And it's not very often you see McLaughlin have to come from behind, but the inevitable happened, and he got in front of Shane van Gisbergen and moved to the front. The 17 has just been the car to look for so far this year, and there they are on the podium again. 6th win in a row for Scott the Glock, and he is just on fire at the moment.
Absolutely on fire, and there was a bit of jostling going on with fuel strategies.
Yes.
Whincup pitted early to get track position and didn't take on a lot of fuel and a whole lot of things going on. So, the 6th win in a row for Scotty McLaughlin. I think they put him out to 400 odd points or something at that particular point of the day.
It was, and it came back a little bit on Sunday. And you can go with race 18 highlights, GMAG.
So let's go Sunday, and it was Cam Waters off the front row. Ironic that it was a wet day. Bit of action here in the first corner where Reynolds and McLaughlin came together. There's the damage on those two cars. Shane van Gisbergen and his team played the pit strategy, and they got all the 150 litres of fuel in as quick as they could. Waters and the Giz were having a battle. Waters went off. The deal ended under safety car. Red Bull took a win. Only Van Gisbergen's second win of the year.
Yep.
Now, we've pulled the highlights out of it because we're only allowed to show 30 seconds, so we're keeping to the 30 seconds.
We are. We're playing nice. We're not calling anybody anything.
But that win, you wouldn't know it, Philip, because they haven't told anyone about it, but that was the 500th Australian Touring Car Championship, V8 Supercars Championship race win for the Commodore nameplate.
Bit of a milestone.
So considering Ford's won 350 in total.
Yeah.
So Monaro's had taken 2 wins in championship races, 2 or 4. Tirana's up to 50 because it was Holden's 550th race win in total as well.
Right.
So 500th for Commodore.
Yeah.
Not one mention.
True, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a few minutes' time. Before we start talking about things that are controversial, in the wet, SVG. I mean, he is exceptionally good when it comes to that sort of stuff. Yes, the race finished under safety car, but that was a fantastic drive from Shane.
He was fabulous. Let's go to that first corner. Biffo, if we can, please, Danny Boy. Here we go. We've got it again, and bang, there it was. The two protagonists. Now, the media have tried to belt this up.
Yep.
They've tried to make it that there's a massive rivalry going on. It's bad. It's going to smash everyone on the podcasts and all of that. First corner racing incident. Dave Reynolds went for a gap, wasn't there. Probably his 95% fault.
Was Scott
100% really?
Was Scott being defensive? Yeah,
probably
he was. He was driving around the middle of the road.
A little bit defensive early on as well, but racing incident, bad luck, move on, done.
Yeah.
It hasn't hurt McLaughlin too much in the championship because he got the car back out in the track, the team did.
And he got back to 11th, I think?
11th or 12th, and rescued 60-odd points.
He did. And look, McLaughlin drove exactly on that first lap like you'd expect to drive if you had a 300-point lead in the championship. And Reynolds drove exactly like you would expect him to drive if he'd been in qualifying strongly at Townsville, where he's always strong in an Erebus car. So, look, yes, yes, there is a bit of a beat up in the media. Do these two guys send each other Christmas cards? I'm sure there's mutual respect. Are they friends? They can't be friends at the moment. They're driving for different teams. So, well, yeah, okay. And they both got podcasts, and we'll both be able to hear what they say. But both terrific drivers, and everyone will forget about it and move on. And Scott still leads the championship by, where did I put this down, 292 points. That's as good as a weekend.
Absolutely.
Still the red-hot favourite for the championship.
Yeah. Well, it's just so far in front, it's not funny. Yeah. And let's go to the next one. This was the interesting one.
Jamie
Rare
Whincup.
mistake.
You can almost, you know what, you can, when he had that big one in New Zealand, everybody just stood back and went, you just don't see Jamie Whincup crash that much. And it shows you how bad the conditions were and how hard these guys are pushing these cars at the moment.
Some people have actually deciphered it because we've got the next... Do
we know what the cause was?
Here's the official word on the cause. No.
0-0-0.
0-0, mate.
Young bloke, cold tyres, fucked it up.
Okay, he wasn't young.
The official word from LP. Yeah, he's still young in sorts.
Look, we're not laughing at Jamie Whincup. That was a nasty shunt and nobody was hurt. But as we say, this guy has been operating at a stratospheric standard for a long time, so you don't see that very often.
Oh, true. And here we are halfway through the season, Philip, and Jamie hasn't won a race. And you know when the guys, where is he in points? About fifth.
6th, 15.28. The leader at the moment is McLaughlin on 21.68. He's just over 600 points behind, 2 rounds.
Right. You go, well, the guy's 16 points.
Yeah.
It really goes to show what is expected, what people expect of the bloke when you go, oh, he's only 6th in points.
That's right.
Whereas other drivers would be 6th in
cut
points
their
and you
arm
go,
off.
how good is he going?
Yeah.
But never true champions are never kept down for too long, and I'm sure he will be back on it. And I think probably where we'll see a really big dig by J-Dub this year is at Bathurst with Craig.
Yeah,
going into the Enduros, going straight into Bathurst without Sandown.
That's right. Look, and realistically, and I think I've mentioned this before on the Motorsport show, there are a number of strong combinations, and Shell, the Shell team looks fantastic as well. But really, Red Bull Holden Racing Team, that's pretty much the strongest quartet of drivers anyone's taken to the endurance races ever.
Well, if Scotty McLaughlin's co-driver doesn't turn up,
you're still upset about that, aren't you?
Yep.
If you're French and you've got some spare wine, please send it along to the Motorsport show. GMAC wants to have a bit of vengeance.
No, Italian.
Is that a French word?
Italian.
Italian?
I'd like a bit of Italian.
A bit of Italian wine?
Yeah. Red.
Okay. A bit of sang-fired.
The Super Tuscans.
What else happened in Townsville? We did see a nasty incident.
Here's the nasty one, and let's roll this one, Danny, if we can, please, mate. This is the thing. Now, see the fuel come out already.
Yep.
Now, so that
this
hose.
is Nick Percat.
Now, I have to ask. Look, there's a lot of pressure going on, and
why do they drop the car?
I reckon there's 2 errors there. One, the guy's actually gone to the car with the fuel coming out of the hose well before he was at the car, and the second one when they dropped it. They shouldn't have dropped it with the amount of fuel hanging around.
Yeah, look, the dry brake fuel system's been around for a long time, and it works well 99.9% of the time. And this time, there was a glitch in the system, and there was a bit of a chain of events. What has been underlined was how quickly the operators from the other team moved into position to put Percat's fire out. And also, well, we're giving kudos to the other team. The fire marshals also did a
The
very
fire
good
marshal,
job.
the BJR's guys,
Yep.
the other teams, and the fire marshals were all. I mean, normally in these things you see a comedy of errors.
Yeah, it's a little bit like a Benny Hill movie.
And extinguishers blowing up in blokes' faces and, all of that sort of stuff. But all of the teams, all of the officials did a terrific job there.
The fires at Townsville were
But
right
I
on the
think
pace.
there was two mistakes made. One, obviously, the hose had broken or something had broken there.
Yep.
A lot of fuel coming out, and I don't think they should have advanced the car. But obviously there's pressure going on. The guys perhaps looking at the car more than what's coming down, and when they dropped the car, I don't think that helped.
Yeah, that's true. And look, 25 years ago, there would have been a lot of people in pit lane, including the media. Now, even for a photographer to be in pit lane, you've got to wear fireproofs. So there's been a big. And we're not having a go at BJR.
No, not at all.
They've got issues, and they operate at a very high standard, and they'll be addressed. And I doubt you'll see something like that happen in the near future because everyone have signed both their drivers for next year.
Yeah, big news.
It is, and it was reported very much around the world. There had been a degree of expectation about McLaughlin, Fabian Coulthard, question mark. He is in good form at the moment. The team was happy to re-sign him. So both of those drivers in the 12 and the 17 will be back in 2020, back in shell colours in those fast Mustangs.
Glenn Smith. Glenn Smith's come through with Formula E could be the answer for Lakeside's noise issues.
Well, see, this is one of the issues, and people poo-poo this idea.
True.
One of the big things that's going to happen with electric motorsport is you're going to be able to run it pretty much where and when you like.
I'm with Mark Ware, though.
What's that?
No noise, no thanks.
Okay, all right, but kiddies and karts and the 10-minute races. So you're going to have a battery that's going to weigh 15 kilos in your go-kart, and you change it twice a day, and then you go home. No noise. There's a big opportunity here for motorsport to get out to the masses. So it's going to be a seesaw. Some people don't want to see it. Some people do.
And while we talk of that, we're talking about Penske signings and the future of supercars. When we're going to car of the future next,
the next future,
next gen, whatever we're calling the next generation of cars, you would hope, and I believe they are, but you would hope that supercars are looking at some sort of hybrid system at least. To go into those cars?
Yeah, but it needs to be done along the same lines as currently tenders are out for submissions for the British Touring Car Championship to go hybrid, and they need to make sure they keep a cap on the technology, number one, and don't let costs run away. And one of the things, and we were talking about this before we came on here tonight, one of the things the British Touring Car Championship has done very well, and Alan Gow, who we both know is a very clever guy, is he's allowed manufacturers to come in and spend whatever they want, but they can't buy an advantage. And that's one of the things that people just need to be a little bit mindful of at the moment when the new regulations are done. Yes, it's inevitable there will be hybrid cars, and people
opened up the shop and then they closed up the shop.
Well, 3 have buggered off, haven't they? Volvo,
Would you call them pop-ups? That's really what they were, wasn't it? Pop-ups. They've only popped in for a little while and popped out.
That's what manufacturers do in motor racing, except for Holden. What else happened? There were some.
Well, you talk about Holden.
Yeah, since I brought it up.
Well, you talk about Holden, and for those that didn't hear it because it wasn't in the press. It was just slipped out on Thursday night, I think.
On Foxtel.
Was that Red Bull and Holden have both re-signed with 888 Race Engineering for another 2 years. So, and the interesting thing about that was that there was absolutely no fanfare about it, and people in the media started questioning why wouldn't you make some noise about it?
Yeah, so it was Jessica Dane was on Fox Sports on Thursday. Time when manufacturers out there, and in particular in this case Holden, could push out some good news about their motor racing activities, because it's not like they're winning all the races at the moment, and it's not like they're selling an awful lot of vehicles. So this is good news, and there was an opportunity there to do a better job, and for the second year in a row a big news story came out of Townsville, and it probably wasn't handled as good as it might have been. And that's just me talking from someone who's been working in the motorsport sphere, in the news sphere, for 3 decades. Gerald, 3, 2, 1.
Well, having had a little bit of experience on that side of the ladder, I'll tell you why.
Why? What's going on?
Right. So there's very good whispers, and look, well done to 888 for getting the deal to continue. But I understand that this is a part of a massive cutback in sports and sponsorships. I'm hearing that there will be considerably less signage, Holden signage on those cars next year.
So they won't look the same as they will.
They will not look the same as what they do
It'll
this
still be
year.
called the Red Bull Holden
Red
Racing
Bull
Team?
Holden Racing Team,
But
and the
they
team
won't.
is the factory team.
Righto.
But it's a part of a massive cutback that also includes the AFL.
So hang on. Are you saying Holden's not going to be involved with the AFL at the same level?
I understand. I'm hearing whispers that Holden are out of Collingwood. It will not be the Holden
Holy
Centre
cow.
anymore.
Right.
They already are out of sponsoring the coaches at Collingwood, which they'd sponsored for a number of years. And it was a very profitable sponsorship as well, Philip, that they sold a lot of cars out of there when it was originally set up. I believe that they'll be out of that, and I also believe they'll be out of the NRL as well.
Really?
And
So hang on. I'm not a big NRL
pulling
fan.
back big
Is it
time.
Holden is the name sponsor of the State
State
of Origin?
Origin,
Right.
which is on tonight that we're not watching.
Right.
So unless they've re-signed there, I believe they're cutting back. I mean, that NRL sponsorship for that State of Origin originally was ridiculous amounts of money, and the organisation weren't that good to work with. I can tell you that. I mean, we did a Townsville promotion where we had Garth Tander and James Courtney in Queensland, New South Wales gear, painted the bonnets on the Holden Racing Team cars. They actually finished 1-2 in Townsville. The NRL charged us for the 2 jerseys for the promo shots.
Oh, really?
$380, if you can believe
Really?
that. When we were promoting their event, and it was a major sponsor that at that point was sticking in $6.5 million into that competition.
$380 for 2 jerseys. They
Yep.
should have chucked in a couple of Frisians.
And I'll tell you how bad they were to work with. We got a phone call one day saying, is it possible to get a photo of James Courtney in his Penrith rugby top?
Yep.
And
Rugby league.
And I said, well, gee, lucky you ask. He's actually in Melbourne today. We could get a photographer there, but you'd have to pay for the photographer. But we'd have to get a Penrith jersey from somewhere. The NRL marketing person said, well, I'm in Melbourne. I've got one with me. I will taxi it to you. I said, okay, and I gave her the rate for the photographer, which I had to pay. We went and had a photo shoot on the spot. The car had just returned from a race. It was all dirty at the front. James there in his gear. They didn't refuse to pay for the photo,
Oh.
even though they wanted to put it in the paper the next day.
Oh. Well,
So,
that's not very good.
no. But, so I believe Holden are scaling back massively.
Okay.
So I reckon good on Roland for getting another deal.
Again, this is a positive for motor racing. And
It is a positive, but they've done some pretty negative things in the last couple of years.
True.
And this is coming off the June sales for Holden of 4,800 units, the most important month of the year. The market was down about 8 to 9%. They were down 35% in sales. They're 25% down year to date. Since they launched a brand redesign back in mid 2015, they're down nearly 60% in sales.
Okay, and that's across a showroom of.
What's their best lineup they've ever had?
I haven't driven their SUVs. I've driven a Commodore ZB, and I'd have one if I was looking for a large car like that, family-sized car. That's what I'd buy. It's best value. And we should also point out that, I believe that Holden is continuing its support program with the other Holden teams outside of the Red Bull Holden Racing Team in terms of vehicles and parts support. When I say I believe that, I believe that's to be the case because I haven't actually seen a formal announcement about it. And again.
Christian Aquilina has been quoted as saying that in the press.
In news stories, not in a press release that I've seen.
No, but having worked in the system where they were getting the cars, the drivers were getting cars, the teams were getting cars, and the teams were getting parts, and then they had it all taken off them, I can tell you it was bloody hard, because the teams all of a sudden felt abandoned.
Yep.
And for 3 or 4 of the last years that I did their stuff, it was difficult because you had these people saying, oh, look, we've got to change Holden, we've got to change Holden. The only thing they changed is how to sell less cars. That's the only thing they've done successfully.
So good news. Holden
Holden
is sticking around. It just could have been handled better in the announcement phase. Let's get on to the next thing that people are talking about, and it's...
Steve Marr says, what about the two Aussies that just won the Peking to Paris rally for the third time?
That's good.
In the Leyland P76, but that's all I know, Steve, unfortunately.
Where did the great Leslie finish in the and what about Professor Fate and the Hannibal Twin 8?
And Dick Dastardly.
Dick Dastardly. Okay, let's get on with it. Chaz
and
Mostert,
Chazzy Mostert.
2020. What do we know?
Chaz Michaels.
Where's he going? He's not. It looks like he's not going to go overseas that we know about. But for those of you who haven't been keeping up with the story, suggestions about Chaz Mostert, currently the Super Cheap Autos Mustang driver for Tickford Racing, being on the market. We understand that he's out of contract at the end of the season. He's been linked with DJR Team Penske. Clearly, he's not going there now. He's been linked with Schnitzer, BMW, and their GT program. That remains a possibility. And media reports over the last recent times, led by Andrew Van Leeuwen at motorsport.com, that he's been linked to Walkinshaw Racing. What do we think?
I reckon it's a done deal.
Yeah?
I reckon it's a done deal.
I reckon it makes a lot of sense.
Well, at this point in time, I don't know why you would, knowing how good the...
Leave a team you're competitive with to go into the unknown. Lots of drivers have done that. Danny Rick just did it.
Who?
Ricardo.
Yeah, and how's he going?
Not great.
No.
Making lots of money.
So, but
might be a Ferrari next year. Anyway, let's get back to Mostert.
Jesus Christ.
No, he is not on the grid.
He's in a super competitive Mustang.
True.
That said, there's been another parity adjustment, centre of gravity,
that's
number
true.
4 for the year. The closest they've ever had to cars. Let's not forget that in December.
That's true.
I don't know why he would, unless he's been shown something that is going to show that the team's going to advance. Now, that team, I think, owes James Courtney a competitive car. And if they were to do a deal, I would believe that Scott Pye would go. I reckon they've done a deal. And when you say, well, you've got Pye and Courtney, the team owes Courtney. Like, he's been terrific for them, brings in a lot of money. He walks into a room, people know who he is. He lights up a room. He's fantastic sponsor value. He's a 2-time world champion, already a Hall of Fame member for the Australian Motorsport Hall of Fame. He's won in every category of cars he's ever been in. He is a superstar still, and he might be the oldest. Yeah, that's okay. We can go over. Yeah. He might be the oldest driver in the series, but he's fit, hungry, and aggressive, and I think he's still got a number of years left in him.
From the team's point of view, I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm talking about WAU at the moment, Walkinshaw and Andretti United. Walk and Unite. I think the mark of a good team is when they do things that they should do, and one of the things they should do is to bring in a headline act that can win a championship and wrap a team around him, and I think that's something they would do. I think in a slightly different way, that Erebus did something similar with De Pasquale. Go and get yourself a young gun. Sort out the bumps along the way and invest in the future, and that's what they did. And I think this is a statement that Zach Brown and Michael Andretti and Ryan Walkinshaw want to make. How do they fund it? I don't know. I don't know whether Super Cheap Autos is tied to Tickford.
Yeah.
Is it? And if it's not, would they go to Walkinshaw where they have been before?
But I think with the amount of young talent that is hanging around as well, Phil, I think the cost of the driver market is a lot lower.
Oh, well, yeah,
considerably lower.
No question. But is Mostert worth $750,000?
No.
Don't you think?
No.
Is anyone?
No.
Not even McLaughlin?
No.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you, Roland wasn't paying Jamie Whincup $750,000. He won 7 championships.
Okay. All right. I was just throwing that number out there.
And especially if you've got the leading cars, you don't need to pay the blokes the most money because they're going to make more money from endorsements and from personal services agreements. So you give them the opportunity where you pay them well,
yep,
not the greatest amount of money, but you pay them well so that you've got them on side, but you give them the opportunity to earn money because they're going to get it from their successes. And that'll be a lot more money than, another 150 on the driver bill.
So let's imagine that this is a done deal, and this is going a long way down the road because at the moment the team and the driver are both making the familiar noises they usually make in these situations when there's been discussions, but they can't confirm anything one way or the other. So we're going to make the jump here regardless. We haven't spoken to Chaz about this, but let's imagine Chaz goes there. What does Tickford do?
Simona?
Well, if Simona has the commercial backing, that would be a good fit for that team. Because let's be honest, she's not making progress where she is.
No, so far it's been a failed experiment, having Simona
Results-wise?
at Kelly Motorsport, Nissan Motorsport, Kelly Racing. She finished 10th on the weekend, was very surprised, very happy. And now let's get this straight. I can't stand tokenism on putting women into fast cars.
Yeah, okay.
All of that. And hang on.
Yeah.
She's not tokenism.
No, she's not.
She is a quality, world-class driver who probably needed a couple of years to learn the category.
Yeah.
But in the end, she's not driving the greatest car. And stick her into a Mustang, front-running Mustang, I think she'd probably jump 5 or 10 places up in the grid.
Who else might be a fit in there? An obvious candidate might be somebody.
Good talent around, isn't there?
Well, Caruso's linked with that team, Michael Caruso, who drove
But you
Gerald.
talk about young drivers and give some young guys a go.
Jack LeBrock, who's a former Super 2 driver with
Peter Brock's French love child.
He wouldn't show up for dinner if you asked him to tour in Vegas. But LeBrock drove for Tickford Racing, and they hold him in very high regard from his Super 2 days. So he would be a possibility. And, of course, there was that slightly odd... just before... The slightly odd press release in May before the Perth round that said Jack LeBrock is continuing to race for Techno. I can't see him racing for Techno past the end of the season. So he
I'd just like a 10 grand at Techno, Amy.
And he's got good management.
Has he?
LeBrock. David Siegel.
Oh, yeah, because he went to France with Brock too.
Oh, for goodness sake.
He did.
This is like...
David Siegel, he
even knew when baby food that ends up on the wall.
He even knew when they were dancing around the cars in the nude with the mistletoe and everything.
Can we just pull the plug on this program and go? Gerald's gone off the rails.
No, it's true.
Anyway, I think there could be a number of young drivers who could be linked with that drive at Tickford.
Will Brown?
Will Brown is obviously in good form. Dylan O'Keefe is a guy who looks like he's worth keeping an eye on.
Up at Dudeville, up at the Norwell Motorplex, they're chucking plenty of young guys through cars up there and doing terrific things with them.
There are some strong drivers, and there are plenty of drivers in other categories as well.
Who's the other kid that the dude's got up there at the moment? He's racing Super 3.
I don't know.
Mine's gone blank. And he's got another great talent up there.
And was it Conor Murray in Carrera Cup on the weekend in Townsville, 17 years old? So look, there are some good good drivers out there, but it all depends what Chaz decides he's going to do, and we're not being preemptive here, but there's some good opportunities out there.
There certainly are. We should say, and there's also going to be a spot at Supercars because I believe that Cole Hitchcock, the media manager,
his last race on the weekend
was his last race on the weekend, and I haven't spoken to Cole for a while, but I understand that they want the position in Sydney, which is pretty much why he went last time, because he operates out of Queensland.
That's right,
and they got sort of said, listen, Cole, we want someone in Sydney. So he went off and worked for Queensland Tourism, did a terrific job there. They then had Nick Johnston, who decided to leave.
Gone to the NBL.
Gone to the NBL. They spoke to me about the position when I was still doing the Holden stuff, just a very brief conversation, but told me it was a Sydney-based job. So I said, well, it counts me out.
It's a long commute every day.
Yeah, and especially in Sydney traffic, and they rehired Cole, who I thought's done a terrific job, but apparently it's a bit political again, and They want someone in Sydney again.
Changes on the way. And speaking of which,
I'm not quite sure why they do that.
Townsville was the last race working for Supercars, I understand, for Mitchell Adam, who's been providing a lot of their content for the website.
Where's he gone?
I don't know where he's going. I haven't spoken to him, but I do know that was his last race. So I wish him all the best. One of the old Motorsport news crew.
Hazelwood's on the market as well, says David Driscoll.
Hazelwood drove very well on the weekend.
What a fantastic effort he put in on the weekend. Brilliant. Great effort. And he's done it a couple of times this year as well.
Well, that means, if he was to move, that means MSR is on the
Well, they've got to get a franchise.
Yeah.
They've got to get a franchise. So Cameron J, replying to Steve Mars, says about the two Aussies in the Peking to Paris rally in a mighty P76.
Peking to Paris in a P76.
And, like, we've spoken about Holden. No word about their 500th Supercars win for Commodore.
Nothing.
500. And where's bloody Leyland, Australia? 3 Peking to Paris wins in a row. Not one word of advertising.
It's terrible. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to buy a P76. And I don't care what the P76 brothers say.
Next show, Philip.
I'm done.
Wednesday.
I've already mentally moved on to the next show.
Wednesday, the 24th of July.
And the director's moving out the furniture. 8:30. Facebook Live.
Facebook Live. Don't forget the Enforcer
stuff.
and the Dude are on next week as well. They're good blokes.
Yeah, and Russell will have lots of stuff to talk about after racing an Audi. Front-wheel drive car. Russell, front-wheel drive. Go hard, mate.
So
have a good weekend.
Wednesday, 24th of July, 8:30 p.m, right here. Interact. Do your Googles. Do all your stuff here. Talk to us. Look forward to your company then. Thanks for joining us tonight.
All right.